Welcome for the 2 viewers who have been waiting for the last hour. Thank you very much. We're just going to wait for another 4 minutes and then we're going to get started. I appreciate that this is not actually on the Discord, so it might be difficult to get like a proper discussion going. So if any of you guys are actually in the Discord education chat and want to kind of have that conversation, I'm happy to potentially open up the Discord, and I'll join the Discord Signal voice channel. I'll put myself on mute so you can hear me on the stream. There's going to be a bit of a delay, like less than 10 seconds, but it's still quite a lot. But in that case, you'd probably have to mute one of the streams, so either the YouTube or the Discord. So I'll just be talking through that if that helps. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think and if that's going to be useful. But yeah, just gonna let some people trickle in. Sup Eddie, sup Jacob. Zadak. What is your actual name? Is it just Zadak? Yeah, Jacob? Okay, cool. I'm gonna join. Alright. If you guys join voice chat as well, I'm in there, so you can start asking questions. Nice, this is working out. Zay? Nice, right, cool. That's easy to remember that one. Jacob asks for Signal voice chat and doesn't join Signal voice chat. Peak. Gotta copy this to education. Your username for Discord or everything. Yo, Falcon. Welcome to the streams. This is the first ever YouTube live that I'm doing, so let me know if this is if there's any technical errors. Let me know, and then I'll review this tomorrow as well, or afterwards as well, so I'll be able to find out what's actually going on, if there's any issues. No, analysis hasn't started yet, but it will be starting in about 30 seconds. Screen share on VC. I can try. I'll probably start lagging, but give it a go. Yeah, we'll see. There's no Zoom link. It's just the YouTube and also the Signal voice chat. So I'm in both at the moment. Bougie. So if you join Signal voice chat, you can ask me anything immediately, and it'll be more live than the YouTube chat, and I feel like that's more engagement. But I'm gonna keep myself muted on Discord, so there wasn't some sort of fuck you. I might do a Zoom later on, but we'll see. All right, cool. It's 12 a.m. All right, so we're gonna get into the analysis. All right, so obviously we always start from the monthly. Currently today is the 20th, right? 20th of September, so we have 10 days until the end of the month. We have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, and then 5 days next week. So we have 8 trading days left until this this closure, right? So at any point, right, you know, monthly has already come down, created that bottom wick. This September candle hasn't really driven very far, right? It's driven, you know, 500 pips, but if you compare that to these kind of other candles, it's drove what, like 20,000 pips, like 2,000 pips, right? So it hasn't really gone very far, and it's kind of still within these kind of ranges of the last month as well. So if price this month starts closing, respecting these sorts of areas here, you know, even if it flips bullish and closes weak bullish here, then, you know, cool. It's an indication that price might have found support and is looking to drive up, right? And we could get the kind of monthly celery moving up, right? So this could be the case. I don't have any green or anything, but yeah, you'll have to do with that. So it could end up, you know, flipping bullish, and the next month's candle could do this, right? So you could close weak bullish and then start driving, but I would, again, like, regardless of where it drives from, it needs liquidity, and obviously it's the monthly candle, so we'd be looking for liquidity on the daily, 4 hour, even the weekly as well. So that's just what to kind of think about in terms of the monthly. There's not too much to think about. It's just keeping that in the back of your mind, general price direction. Weekly, you know, we opened up first 2 days straight up, right? There's no bottom wick on this weekly, as we analyzed yesterday. We closed previously last week, we closed respecting 1918, so at any given point we could be mirroring this kind of structure here, this structure here. So with that structure, you know, we tapped into around 1983 levels, 1893 levels. So if we could come back down and then start grabbing that liquidity before pushing up, it would be very, very preferred, right? It might not do that. It might, you know, just come down to about these sorts of levels around 1912, right? 1912 will probably also be looking to take buys because, right, this candle here closed bullish respecting, right? This candle here also closed bullish respecting, and then after it grabbed liquidity here once already, it doesn't have to grab liquidity. So after it grabs liquidity here, it might not come back down all the way. So looking for buys at 1912 is still valid because there will be a likely sort of rejection at these levels, which is the next candle pushing up, right? Looking at these levels, there will be some sort of rejection in price around here. And then, like, so if we keep this in mind for now, and then we look into the 4 hour, we'll probably see a rejection, right? Because this one daily candle, this one weekly candle will be consistent of many daily candles and forming ranges in this area, and within that there will be a lot of 4 hour candles forming ranges and stuff around there as well. So we'll keep this in mind, 1912, but generally I would say we're looking for liquidity in these sorts of areas down here to push up. However, right, the weekly is also a very high time frame, right? So we have to kind of drop down to the daily 4 hour to kind of see what's going on. But in general, weekly, what we're expecting, right, this week is currently bullish. It could flip at any point. So if it does flip bearish, starts filling these ranges down here to grab liquidity before going up, we will be looking for potentially, you know, 10-20 pips on these kind of rebounds, like at these levels or potentially these levels here. But obviously, because the weekly, you know, the movement is generally slower, price could start, because it's already made a high, it could just flip bearish and start driving all the way down. So in that case, you know, we'll get these kind of bearish, the weekly will start, you know, forming a bearish candle, and then, you know, it'll retrace a bit before pushing down and create that general market structure, right? This is the weekly. If it starts pushing down, the daily, what is that going to look like? It's going to look like, you know, it's going to look like multiple candles which do this, right? And then you'll get that structure forming. So that's what we're expecting. And if this flips, you know, we could be looking to take buys around these areas. So that's just something to keep in mind. Just get rid of these two. So let's go down to the daily, right? So daily closed bearish, respecting resistance for me. So I've got a resistance here, right here, right? And obviously on this daily chart, you can see the resistance isn't very clear here. It's kind of clear here, and I'll explain this area here because I'm very interested in this. You have these kind of wicks here, right? You have all of these going on. You've got all of these ones here, right? These were the important ones that we've been looking at all week. There's also these ones, and obviously you have this here. So there's a lot of kind of different levels, and I would say 1934, also a level we've been looking for this week, is a very strong level, and currently, we've closed bearish respecting. So at any given point, if price comes up, taps around 1938 levels, or breaking these highs at 1937.5, around 1938, I'm looking for that rejection around there for price to continue down. Because if you look at the daily, obviously it's quite a high time frame as well. There's not much liquidity being grabbed, right? Even if this is liquidity to be grabbed, this isn't enough liquidity. Every time price wanted to grab liquidity, it made big moves, right? So for example, let's have a look at price, right? So on this move down, right, at some point this candle came all the way back down, didn't have enough liquidity, retraced basically entire move for how many pips, right? This was like 270 pips, right? Retraced all of that just to drive down a little bit more, retraced again to drive, and then like continue driving. Similarly, you have all of this, like it kind of came down to here, you've changed market structure, you're bullish now, you broke these highs, but it retraced down here to grab liquidity all the way down to these areas before going up. So I don't believe that this is the liquidity that is required to drive all the way up. So in that case, we're looking for sells to grab liquidity, and once we grab the liquidity, we'll be looking for buys. So we're looking for generally, some sells around like a level when it breaks this high, and we're looking for buys at relevant areas where price is likely to reject. And if you're looking purely at the daily, you could be looking at getting sells at around these areas here, because you have a strong level here, and price tends to tap resistances before making decisions. And for buys, just on the daily currently, you could be looking at these areas down here, or potentially 1912, 1918 sorts of areas. So if price does that, you have this level to kind of bounce off of. Price will do something like this, right? It's going to come down, and it will, even if it wants to go down, it like truly go down, and we're in drawdown because we're in a sell here. It will need to grab liquidity to come down, right? If it wants to go back up, right? Let's say we take a buy here. Let's say we take a buy around here. All right. If price starts, closing bearish, coming down and whatnot, right? This move, right, is the liquidity we're expecting. But in the middle of this, because this is the daily chart, right, you're gonna see these moves and these small kind of rejections around here. So worst case scenario, you enter here, right? Worst case scenario, you enter here. Price has already tapped this level, rejected, and you've entered here on the second time it's tapped the same level, right? It's very likely that price, even if you're in drawdown, it will come back up to break even before making any decision, because this is just market structure. It taps levels, right, before making decisions to continue driving in the same direction as market structure or reversing. So like you can either capture this part of the move, right, from this first initial push, or you could be looking to capture, this second move here, right? And obviously you have the rejection back to break even. If you don't like it, you can close. If it starts breaking above market structure here, so let's say price, does this, comes down, taps here, right? We're breaking, we're in drawdown, right? We tap these levels again. Oh, cool, we're breaking market structure. You have you have so many opportunities to enter the market, right? You have all of these areas to enter, and even if it's if it's changing market structure, we could even get entries around these areas as well. So that's the kind of phase of the market and the cadences that we're looking for in terms of our positions. So just on the daily, you know, think about where price is likely to tap before making decisions. And, you know, like, it's just levels of support and resistance, right? You know, you have a strong resistance here when price was pushing up. So this could also act as a support for price to bounce back, right? If you look at most recent, you know, price is doing this, right? It's come down, lower high, low, low. Now we're creating a higher high. So if it comes down to here, which makes sense, right? Around 1922 areas, potentially, you know, 1923 areas, you know, it's going to bounce somewhere around here. And this is the liquidity grab we're looking for. Cool. That's enough of the daily. Let's go to the 4 hour. I'm going to remove everything besides this box, I think. So I'm going to redraw this box just on the weekly, because we wanted to explain this bottom wick right here. Cool. So you see this bottom wick here, right, on the 4 hour. This on weekly. After price closed bullish, right? Bullish, respecting this resistance, right? Respecting this support. You know, it still came down to grab some liquidity, started ranging in these areas before pushing up. If we go to the daily, what does that look on the daily, right? We can clearly see, right? Price came down, we closed bullish, right? This is the liquidity wick that we're looking to capture. This very specific one right here. Cool. So if we zoom into that, let's go into the 4 hour. What does this look like on the 4 hour? You can see here, right? It's very clear. Price is making a reversal, right? You know, you're making lower lows, now you're making higher highs, but it's not pushing. There wasn't enough liquidity to do anything here. So it grabbed more liquidity here, and you can tell this is liquidity because you're tapping into these major zones around 1911, 1913. And then you just a massive rejection here with no bottom wick on the 4 hour, and it's just straight push up. So these are kind of like, even if it's on the weekly and you just see a wick, right? It's very clear, and you can very easily zoom down to the 4 hour, even like 1 hour and 30 minutes, and you'll see liquidity being grabbed, and it will be like very clear during the day where liquidity is being grabbed. There will be strong pushes, especially if there is volume in the markets like New York session. London's been pretty good recently as well, so you'll see it happen in the market. Let's continue 4 hours. So we explained that box just now. So what I like to do on the 4 hour is I like to draw out which zones we're in. So, you know, we're in this range between here and I'd say here, right? This is the 4 hour range that we're in. Just making sure you can actually say we're in a range here. Cool. So we're in 1930 to 1935. Just going to draw another level here and another level here, just so we have some reference points, right? But in general, I would say we have pushed up into this kind of range here, and we're respecting 1930. So what happened the last time we respected around 1930, right? Yesterday we were expecting a mirror of these pushes, right? Potentially tapping this kind of level at 1938, 1938 maybe, and then driving down to about 1931 before making a decision on where price wants to go. Cool. Where did we tap? We didn't quite tap 1938. We tapped 1937, right? But you know, if we zoom in very carefully, what is 1937? What is the top of this range, right? You can see it's actually this range. So we could have taken, if we zoomed into the 5, the 15, and we kind of identified this as a push, maybe we could have seen this level, gotten at the very top of the wick, and seen this rejection all the way down to 1930, which is where we wanted the rejection in the first place, right? Currently it's rejecting, right? If you go to the 15, you know, it tapped here, rejected, right? You know, even though we haven't rejected very much because of the volume, it's still the first time we made this massive push down to about 1931. We rejected all the way back up for about 40 pips, right? So there is rejection, and this is, you know, this is definitely a level to keep in mind. This 1930, potentially even 1931 areas. So this is what I'm talking about. When price comes into a zone for the first time, and it's a zone that has been tested multiple times in the past, and you see strong rejections or strong support and resistance being formed at those levels, it's very likely that when price comes into contact with those levels again, price will have some sort of reaction. So it's safer for us to take those trades around those areas. But okay, so let's continue with the 4 hour. We're in this range between here and here. I'm going to go back to the daily and show you something that is quite interesting. So I'm going to get rid of all of this for now. Daily close respecting, right? What was the last time daily closed respecting? Looking left, right? Didn't close respecting, didn't really close respecting this range. He closed respecting this range down here. Last time price really did that was here, right? And then if you kind of look at what it's mirroring, you had a push from about 1901. Cool. Where do we push from here? We push from this candle here, 1901 on the dot, right? So we're pushing from there. We're respecting here. What is that top wick that we just formed on the previous bearish daily candle? About 1937. What did we tap? Exactly 1937 right here, right? So there's a high chance that price is going to look to mirror what these ranges did in the past. And I think, you know, in terms of what our most accurate prediction is going to be, it's going to be looking at these sorts of areas to see where price rejected, right? So obviously, if we mark up our ranges kind of down here as well, I kind of want to look onto the 4 hour to see where this range is here. But yeah, like around 1925, right? 1925. So look here, this is a very messy range, but try to see what we can do. Yeah, I don't like this on the 4 hour, but on the daily it looks clean. So if we go back to the daily, you can see here very clearly that if I put my range here at 1928, price closed. Where are we? I'm sorry, it's here. At about 1925, yeah. So price closed respecting, you know, 1930, 1933. So at any given point, price is going to fill this range that we're currently in, right? It's very likely it's going to fill this range because when price moves up, it's going to fill ranges, consolidate before moving up or moving down. So if it does that, you know, it's going to fill the range. Cool. Doesn't mean we're going anywhere. There's no direction yet. Might fill the range 5 times, might fill it 10 times before doing anything, right? But what did price do before it pushed to 1947, 1950 areas, right? It grabbed liquidity towards here. So for the rest of this week and also with FOMC, I will be looking for this bottom wick to be formed around these sorts of areas, because you have your strong areas of support here, right? You have a resistance here, you have support here, you have some resistance here, support here, and this is on the daily, right? So 1913, this is also something we've been talking about for a long time. I would also potentially take, you know, maybe a position at around somewhere around these levels as well. So maybe slightly lower, like these sorts of areas potentially. Basically because you see all these wicks here, all of these wicks are ranges. If we go to the 4 hour and we look at the range, obviously the 4 hour is not clean for this, but this one bottom wick spike allowed price to push all the way up to here. It then grabbed more liquidity around 1918 before spiking up all the way to 1947, right? So these are strong levels, right? If price comes into contact with, you know, 1918.58, there's a high chance it's going to reject for at least 10 to 20 pips before it even decides to push down. So I'll likely have my first buys here, and I'll likely have pineapples here. But depending on news, so if news comes out and we're moving there's like a lot of volume with FOMC typically as well. So if news comes out, we're pushing down, I'll look for my first buys around 1913. I won't be looking at 1918. Even though we are quite far away from 1918, price can move quite aggressively during news. So I'll be wary of 1918 because, you know, you did like kind of reject off this level multiple times, but you could just drive straight through like this, right? And in that case, if you take a buy at 1918, and your stops are below these candles here, your stop loss is nearly 200 pips, right? But if you took a buy like around 1930, maybe even 1911 levels around here, then your stop is only about 120, 100, 110, and that's a lot more reasonable, right? So these are my buy levels, I think, for today. I might actually, yeah, I like this. It's not bad. It is not bad at all. But currently, because so we mentioned that it's likely to fill the range. On the 4 hour, if this fills the range, what does that look like on the daily? Right? If the daily fills the range, what is happening on the weekly, right? 1925, 9. The weekly is going to look like it's going to flip, right? So if this happens today, during New York and FOMC starts, coming down, the weekly is going to flip, right? Weekly is going to flip, but we keep in mind that the previous weekly closed bullish. We're very bullish for the week, for celery as well, like for the celery, weekly celery. So if we grab this liquidity, very likely we're going to start having some sort of rejection. It might not push as far as we're expecting because, market structure for weekly is still bearish, but we'll see some sort of rejections at these sorts of areas. So that's very likely. So just to wrap up, I think for sells, slightly more difficult at the moment. If price comes back and taps, I would say my level is still around 1930, 37.8, maybe slightly higher towards these areas, 1938.5, I would say. If price taps these levels, I'll look to have a sell, but I would need some indication that price wants to start driving down. So if this 4 hour, which closes in an hour and a half, starts closing bearish, right? And then we start, coming up, but we don't really break these highs. And then somehow for London or New York, we push for FOMC at around 1938, maybe even slightly higher at like 1940, 43 areas or kind of 42 areas. Cool, I'll look to take sells. But again, it depends on market structure. If market structure pushes up first, cool, I'm going to take my sells. And if market structure starts pushing down first, but it's respecting certain areas and it looks like overall on the daily and the weekly it's still bullish, I'll take my buys. So I'm just going to mark this up as my sells. And yeah, that's the analysis for today. Let's take some questions, and I'm going to start looking at chat. Sorry, I haven't looked at chat at all, so I'm going to start scrolling through. So you're looking at buys at 1902 because 1918 is questionables. Yeah, so again, right, if price reacts, if price does a bit of this, right, cool, we'll get sells here, then we'll probably get buys here if FOMC pushes all the way down, and then we'll go back up again, because generally this market structure still makes sense. But if price, starts doing something like this, right, starts coming down, and then it grabs liquidity like this, right, I'm not going to take a sell there. I'll be looking to take a buy here, and I'll be looking to take a buy here. So it depends on situations, right? 1918, I think, is strong because, it is a level that if you get to, which is currently how many pips away, like you're like 130 pips away, 140 pips away. So if you get there, there will be, market structure being formed. You're not just going to push down and then straight up, right? Like you're going to need to see price, like range, and then if it spikes up, cool, I'll take a buy. If it starts spiking, if it spikes up, I'll take a sell. If it spikes down, I'll also take a buy. Because if it trails up slowly like this, there's no indication that there's enough volume for it to continue driving up. So it needs liquidity to drive up, right? And we've been looking for this liquidity for the past 3 days. So I think that's still aligned, and I'm happy with 1918. But when it comes to New York next, the next New York session, obviously I'll have a completely different analysis. I'll need to redo my analysis after the 4 hour closes, after 1.5 hours anyways as well. So yeah, this is just valid until the 4-hour closes, I would say. Wick Bruns, we're looking for bottom wick for 1922, 1924 for a buy, retest 93. Yeah, I mean, that could happen as well. Like, it could just not reject the 1918. It could reject the 925. Right? There's so many different areas it could reject that. It could reject the 928. Like, you know, like we don't know where price is. And with kind of news as well, it's such a massive catalyst that you could start driving without any sort of liquidity being grabbed. Like, I think I was in a buy in these sorts of areas here. I was in a sell here. After price, you know, it grabbed liquidity, didn't really go anywhere, and there was a no top wick on this 4 hours. Like, cool. You know, I'll probably look for a sell. There's good enough indication for me that it's going to start, you know, coming back down again. But then news just started pushing up, right? News pushed up, and then because it's the catalyst is news and it's not like liquidity or anything, the chance of it retracing is still there, but it will just take time. Like, price will take time to retrace its moves, grab liquidity before making more decisions. So what happened was this, you know, I closed like, I think like quite a lot in loss for this trade, because I was testing out a 5k funded. But eventually, if you held this, you know, you would have been break even or even in profit if you had it down in 1903, which was at that point quite a strong level for us. Yeah, if anybody wants to unmute on the Signal voice chat as well, feel free to ask questions there, because happy to take some live questions as well. Doesn't have to be like analysis related, it can be general, you know, how to be a trader, psychology even, like anything really. Yeah, so Wick Bruns, I think the Signal voice chat thing is you have to join paid signals for Don, and I think that's like a monthly subscription, or you can get it cheaper if it's like a annual subscription. But basically, for that price, you can join his Zoom calls for his live streams every day. You can also join the rest of it. But I think if you're in this YouTube, you might be in the paid signals. At least you'll know about paid signals, I think. Falcon, what are your levels for Asian? Because obviously you can be playing some smaller ranges, right? So you could be looking for, say, like, you know, we're dropping down to the 15, right? You could be looking for, you know, a break of these lows here, right? If you come down to, yeah, like around 1928, 1925, that could be liquidity for you to drive up. So you could be playing these smaller ranges around here as well. We have a couple more people in the voice chat. Any questions from you guys? If not, I will be looking to end the stream in about 30 seconds. You have 1929 for buys, yeah, like exactly right. You know, if you have 1929 for buys, expecting, you know, you're probably looking at these levels here, right? Like, if price, you know, on the 15, 30 or whatever, right, if it starts closing, you know, like obviously you didn't break the lows, right? If it starts breaking the highs, or, you know, it's indicating that it's moving up strongly, I would say as well. Like, if it does it really slowly, like this shit, I'm not taking a buy in 1929. If it does that, and then I'm looking to take a sell when it breaks these highs. But if price, you know, comes down, you know, hovers here and then starts making like strong moves up, and then grabs that liquidity 1929, I'll look to take a buy. I think that's my 1929 if that makes sense. July 11th on the 1 hour. July. This is July 11th. So you're looking at these, right? Yeah. If you're looking for these, firstly, I would say look at price around this area, right? It tapped 1938. All right. July 11th specifically is, yeah, it's all of this here. Yeah, it tapped 1938 before making a decision. Currently, we haven't tapped that exact level. We tapped around 1937. Cool. It might have tapped the level, like, because these wicks on a lower time frame. Let me get rid of this. These wicks on a lower time frame, this could be a fake out, and this could be the actual top of the range at 1937. So if we get up to 1937 again, cool. I'll look to take a sell first and then decide where it goes. If it comes down to 929, 1930, I'll exit full, and then I'll look to take a buy at those areas depending on market structure. But price taps once, price taps a second time, and I'll likely take those two positions. If price taps a third time, I think we mentioned this yesterday, third or fourth time, unless market structure looks incredible, I won't be taking it. So I'll be taking first and second. But yeah, it makes sense if you're looking at this, because this was our analysis yesterday as well. Taking the sell around 1938 to 1930. This hasn't happened for me yet. I'm still looking for this to happen. You haven't gotten that, you haven't filled this range up. So if this is the top of the range, you will come back to 1937, right? So that's just how it is. I do not use any trend lines or any Fibonacci, duck pate sort of fucking analysis. Unfortunately, I only have my eyes, and they will show me the price action that I need to see for the day. Cool. Doesn't seem to be any more questions. I will be back again tomorrow night. I'll try to stream every single day, but if I don't, I'll let you guys know beforehand. And I think with this kind of live stream, it's easier for me because I don't need somebody to be here to record or anything, right? So, and also I can just finish the live stream and then just kind of hop off, and it'll be there for everybody to watch anyway. So yeah, I think this is going to be it for tonight. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining in. Hope that was useful. Stay safe when you're trading, and yeah, good luck for Asian and London if you're trading that. Cool. Gonna end stream. Have a good night.